This is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Wednesday, the 8th day of November. Kind of chilly out there as we are, believe it or not, 15 days away from Thanksgiving, which is hard to fathom. Next week, the Tiller Center, a week from tonight, as a matter of fact, and we have tickets to give away all day, and we'll give you a chance to be the next contestant in the contest, so that'll begin, and we'll do it each hour. Remember, the show will be next Wednesday night at the Tiller Center, so you can hear it on the Fan, or maybe you'll be fortunate to be there. And your way to get tickets is to listen to the program next 3 days, including today. Each hour, we'll give away a pair and give you a chance to be part of the contest on stage, where you can win $10,000 among other prizes. All that coming up as we hit the middle of the week and we get ready and look ahead to the football weekend as the it's kind of like the two teams are pairing off this week. The Giants are in the abysmal bowl with the Niners. The Niners expected to be there. The Giants, of course, did not. And the Jets are in the battle of the nomadic quarterbacks down in Tampa, with Winston on the shelf and Fitz in the game against McCown. So two quarterbacks will have combined to have played on 15 teams will battle as the Jets try to dream the dream of being a wild card team and getting to 500. They will try to do that against a Buck team, which has been just a little bit less disappointing than the Giants, but equally disappointing this year, where they expected very big things. They have had a injury-plagued season out of their star young quarterback, and a team that a lot of people thought could be a playoff team. A lot of people thought it was about ready to break out. Now has put Dirk Cutter on the hot seat and put Winston on the shelf and put that team in a state of flux right now. And that's really, there's a lot of those stories around the NFL right now. Rumors are ready about the Giants. Now, will they seize this opportunity? And the Giants actively getting ready to go on a major scouting campaign of the quarterbacks. Should that surprise anybody at 1-7? This is a year where if the Giants are going to finish down there, they're going to look for their next franchise quarterback. They'd be crazy not to, and they'd be crazy whether they make a change in the front office or not. They'd be crazy not to be looking to trade up. This is a vantage point from which they don't expect to be in very often. Even if they split the rest of their games, they're going to be in a position where they can see the top of the draft. And at the top of that draft will sit Sam Darnold. So that will be something that Giants will have a hard time not being interested in. They will be very interested. And then you wonder about, if you're a team that needs a quarterback next year, or is looking for the next player to be your franchise quarterback, did Irsay basically create a situation now where Luck, who, like I told you 2 weeks ago, there were rumblings with people saying he'll never play again. And that story has gained a little credence again this week, which, again, no one knows that. There's no way anybody knows that now. But Irsay's comments, you would think there's a very good chance that the Luck camp will want to find another place to play after he has sacrificed his body the way he has for that franchise. And if you've watched them play, you know he has, in about as rough a way as any quarterback has in recent memory. And then you have the owner, who is not the brightest of bright lights, saying that it is all in his head, that he's not hurt. I mean, this is a guy who played through lacerated kidneys, concussions, vicious shoulder injuries, has been just left, in a heap on the field with what he's given to the franchise. And then have the owner, who, like I said, is, he and his father both are always capable of the absurd, stating that he thinks it's all in the quarterback's head, that he's not injured. I mean, just hard to fathom that he would make such a comment. But the question is, does that really shake up the quarterback situation as you look to next year? Does he now look for a new home and try to force some action? I wouldn't be surprised. I would if I were Luck. So we'll see how that plays. The Giants obviously become players in there. The Jets will still be in the quarterback mix next year because McCown is clearly not the future. So if you're in that marketplace for a quarterback, things are going to get very interesting, and now you can add his name and take probably San Francisco out of the mix. A lot of people thought that when San Francisco made the trade for Garoppolo, that they were creating a good position for themselves because they could look at Garoppolo, and then if they didn't want him, they could still go leverage and take a top quarterback. I didn't think at all that was the way they were looking at this, and I think their actions show that they're not. What they were doing was locking up a guy with a number 2 pick, a high number, really a number 1, in essence a number 1 pick, but a very, not their first pick, their second, considering their situation, because they're going to be 1 or 2 in the draft. And they were in a position to lock them up with the second of their top picks, and then play themselves into a position where they could easily get that pick back by trading the top pick in the draft, get that team's number 1, and get that 2 back. So they could do that easily, and maybe even more by cashing it for someone who's going to be in love with one of these quarterbacks. And now they have their quarterback. So, and the reason you can tell they're playing in that way is because they've talked about how little they expect to play him down the stretch of the season. And if they're not going to look at him then, well, then they're going to look at him in the future. So they are going to be looking to lock him up because he's a free agent at the end of the season. So it seems to me they are willing to take a long-term chance on him, and to me, that's the smart move on their part. So that would create a situation where the Niners would be traders, and then teams would have a very easy landing place to go get a quarterback. And then you throw the luck situation into it, and you have a lot of interesting ways to play the quarterback game if that's what you're looking to do as a franchise next year. Plus, Cleveland's ineptitude and ability to embarrass themselves at a moment's notice in all of this really gives you even more promise that something good could come out of it if you're a team that wants to get up there and get into that situation and be involved, like maybe, you know, the football Giants. Whether Eli's going to be here for 1 more year, 2 more years, whatever, it would behoove the Giants, if they are going to be at the top of the draft, to go get themselves a quarterback in this draft. I mean, that would be the smartest thing they could possibly do. Last night, again, I got home in time to see the end of the Knicks game, and as I was turning it on, the Knicks were down again. I know they had been down big, and Howard was proceeding to throw Porzingis all over the court. And I gather he had been throwing him all over the court the entire second half, and Porzingis hadn't scored. Well, I saw where Porzingis had finally got enough, and it led to him leading a terrific comeback and another win for the Knicks last night over the Hornets down the stretch. Porzingis, who had 19 at the half, did not score many at all, and hadn't scored at all until a flurry at the end of the game. He wound up with 28. Knicks wound up with another win, and the Garden was going absolutely crazy. And now at 6-4, things have gotten to be very uplifting and a lot of fun behind this player who was playing at such a high level. And you saw him last night respond in a very big way with a couple of big baskets. He had a big 3. He went down the lane and made the layup at the put in at you know, as the clock was winding down. Just tremendous stuff from him. The Knicks playing very hard, getting good play from McDermott, getting terrific defense from Thomas down the stretch. Both McDermott and Thomas on the floor late in the game. So give them credit. They're doing really a lot of good things, led by their new franchise player. And it's nice to see them finally awaken this, what had been for 2 years, the sleeping giant, into the player that some of us thought he would be here and has become quickly in this league right now. So really terrific time for the Knicks, and they have something to build on with the young point guard who obviously needs work. Then you see what's going on with the Greek Freak in Milwaukee, and you look at his advancement, and they went and got Bledsoe. You got to watch Milwaukee. They lost to Cleveland last night. He only had 40 points. And more interesting, he did something that I thought was unbelievably fascinating and showed me that he has the kind of stuff you want. Not that he is going to make some big sneaker deal. We know he's going to do that. But LeBron tried to take him in the way Jordan always took in the other players and get him to practice and work with him. And he said no. He didn't want any part of it. He wanted to compete against it. He didn't want to be part of the family. He wanted to go out and compete against them, which is what you want to see in your young star, and that sets him up. So you got these young players now, you know, moving forward in the NBA, which is fun to watch. It really is, as he goes out and puts up just, you know, almost astronomical numbers every night across the board. So with what he's doing, what Porzingis is doing, and a couple other guys, it's an interesting thing right now going forward in the NBA, and especially here, where it's actually sounds fun and alive, and really you'd have an interest again in actually turning the Knicks game on with what you're seeing from this team right now after 10 games. It's a welcome surprise. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. Obviously, everybody's still dealing with the Halladay tragedy, and I know the stories coming out about how he was flying the plane and whether, and everyone gets into actions and pilot actions and say, you know what, we all know that's probably true, and we know that it's always extremely dangerous, and it must be considered that it's just an awful tragedy anyway, as I said. I mean, whether it was pilot error or some malfunction or whatever it was that cost him his life, it's just such a terrible thing to see it come down the way it did at such a young age after a brilliant baseball career, just early into his next part of his life. Really had another half of his life to go. At the age of 40, his passion for flying, which had been cultivated since he was a young boy because of his father's occupation, but just the terrible, terrible blow that baseball suffered with the loss of Halladay, as it did yesterday. So we spent a lot of time on that yesterday. I'm sure we'll spend a little more time on it today in terms of some calls, but just a terrible, terrible story and a terrible tragedy to see that happen to someone, at such really a young time in his life. So again, a unspeakable tragedy in baseball that everyone has had to come to grips with in the last 24 hours. We got a lot to do today. As we said, the contest and everything else, we'll get it all rolling right after.